Hey Sagittarius, this is your bi-weekly reading, and we are looking at the period of time from the new moon on December 12th in Sagittarius, in your sign, to the full moon on December 26th. So if you celebrate Christmas, it'll be just after the holiday. All right, so in this period of time, we are looking at the waxing phase of the moon. For those of you who have not been here before, welcome. Thanks for joining. And I'm feeling this card. So we are, when I'm doing these bi-weeklies, we're looking at either the waxing phase of the month, where it's a new to full moon, or the full to new moon for the waning phase. And we do this to really take advantage of what would be during this just 2-week increment of time. Sometimes a month feels too long, right? But for a 2-week period of time, what can we really focus on? And I pull cards for what would be of most benefit to all areas of your life. If you were to focus in this area, what would ripple out and affect all areas of your life in the best possible way? And so, so that's what we're looking at for this waxing phase of the moon. Now, this particular new moon is interesting. I will say, because the peak of the new moon happens at 3:32 p.m. Pacific. So just for your time zone. But then a few hours later, we have Mercury going retrograde, and that brings in more of that reflective quality, right? Remember that with Mercury retrograde, it's not a freak out point. It's just a point where things can, sometimes annoyingly so, slow down in such a way in certain areas of our life, depending on your natal chart, that have us like slow down to do all of the, what I call the re's, right? It's like revisioning, rewriting, reviewing, like all the re's, or say that in a different order, but you get what I mean. So, but we do this review so that we can revise, and that way when we move forward, when we start to build momentum forward, we're much more clear about maybe things that we might have missed, things that we could have missed if we had just kept going at the speed that we were going, right? So I think it's not just appropriate for like that revisioning process is not just appropriate for the astrology, but I also think for the end of the year, because we're looking at, you know, this is the end of the calendar year. Even if you're, you know, similar to me, where like you look at the winter solstice as like that feels more like the beginning of a new year, or if you look at you know, sometimes I feel like even spring equinox is actually more like the beginning of a year. So, but our calendar year and how it fits nicely into our society and how things work is like there's a collective page that's turned. Whether you feel like the Gregorian calendar is what you relate to or not, that happens, right? And so I feel like this is a really good time, despite the fact that it can get so hectic because of the holidays. I think it is a good time to find time to carve out, to do some reflection about the year that we've had, about where we are, about how we feel, about maybe what does need to shift. Maybe we're just like going in a direction where like, no, I'm on this path and it needs to happen this way. But maybe when we sit and we revise or just review our plans, we might see that actually, like, I think I want to change that up. Like, I think there are some tweaks that I want to make going forward. So what area of life are we looking at that for you in? We're looking at that in the second house, right? And the second house is about your personal resources, really. And we see this is like is this an ideal second house, all the gold coins that are there, but this is the way in which you make and spend your money, your resources, how you provide for yourself, like your Maslow's hierarchy of needs, like your food, your, you know, all the necessities that are a part of life. Right? So that is what is shown primarily here, your possessions, right? Like your personal resources, right? That's what's being shown here. So that's what we see, you know, and I'll admit that is maybe not like the most exciting area to be putting in review for the next couple of weeks before, like, especially leading up to the Christmas holiday or up to the New Year holiday or up to just 2024 in general, right? Like, but it is an area, right? Again, we're looking at like the linchpin. What would be the area where if you were to put time, energy, and attention in this area would best benefit all of the other areas of your life? And I can certainly see how reviewing finances, how we budget, how we spend our money, what are my assets, what are my resources, you know, and how am I handling this area of my life, and how can I maybe make some improvements, do this better? You know, this especially is mercurial in that Mercury, though it's not talked about maybe as often in like spheres outside of like astrological spheres, like maybe the general like public doesn't necessarily associate it with this. It took me a while to understand this myself when I started studying astrology, but it's like, yeah, Mercury is about those small details like calculations, like mathematics, like looking at things like commerce and finances and things of that nature. Like it's definitely can be really helpful, or a hindrance depending, but it can be really helpful for doing some like evaluation in this area, right? And then the advice that we see coming through, and I really hope that the sun, like it starts to, I know it doesn't blow out the quality exactly, but it does like make my black cloth look kind of charcoal. So I hope it still looks okay, the quality. I apologize for that, but I had to film it this time of day. So when we see like what's coming through in terms of like guidance, we see the Two of Wands coming through, you know, and like one of the things that I just really want to point out is that you see this guy holding the globe, right? And this is almost to indicate like the world is at your fingertips. Like the world is your oyster. There's so much possibility. It's really just like, what do you want to choose? That's also partially indicated by like the Two Wands. Like, what do you feel drawn to, inspired to like choose as far as like the path that you want to take? Like as he surveys the land here, it's like, okay, well, where do you want to go with this? Like what path do you want to take? And I think that when you take this bigger perspective and you look at some of the smaller details, you might get a better sense of like, okay, well, I have this path that I want to choose to go on, that I feel drawn to, or I feel is necessary. I feel like this is the path that I want to choose to go on, going forward for maybe even just the first quarter of 2024, you know? And in order to do that, some things will need to shift about the way that I handle my resources, or how much resource I can make for myself, right? Remember, I said this is also about how you make your money, right? Not just how you spend it or your possessions, but also how you make that. And so perhaps it's like there is this kind of different planning that is happening with regard to that. And so yeah, so I think it's overall it's positive. It's maybe not the house that everyone wants to focus on all the time, but I do think that it is one that is a necessity from time to time. Like we need to do that, right? So I hope that this has felt helpful. If you're wanting to get in for booking the year ahead readings, for either the tarot year ahead readings where we go through each month and see like what's the theme, what's happening here, or if you're wanting to do the astrology year ahead 2024 readings with me, we can look at the year ahead, but just so you know, we can also really focus in on, for planning purposes, like the first quarter of the year or the first 2 quarters of the year, and really like see what's coming up in different areas of your life. So if you're wanting to really book that, definitely check out the links down below. Like I said, I've had to adjust the scheduling. So if you're wanting to get in before the end of January, I would do that soonish, right? So I think that's pretty much everything. So I hope that this was helpful. If it was, please give the video a like. It really does help me. Share it with another Sagittarius, and also subscribe if you haven't already, please. Like, it's, you know, so I know that you're here and paying attention, checking out the video. So I have new videos that are going to be on the horizon. We will talk about all of that after the holidays. So in the meantime, have a lovely holiday, and I will see you guys on the other side. All right, bye.